The weather app said partly cloudy. The National Weather Service predicted mild evening showers. But my barometer, my joints, and 23 years of reading Afghan mountain storms told me we had 6 hours before hell came to Whispering Pines campground. When I ordered 50 campers to evacuate for light rain, they laughed, filmed my meltdown, and called me crazy Weather Willie. 6 hours later, an F3 tornado turned their campsite into matchsticks. My name is Staff Sergeant William Torres, and this is why I trust my bones more than satellites. I've been the head ranger at Whispering Pines State Park in Missouri for 8 years. Before that, I spent 23 years in the Air Force as a combat weather specialist. My job was to keep aircraft from flying into storms, troops from walking into sandstorms, and operations from failing because someone ignored atmospheric warnings. In Afghanistan and Iraq, bad weather intelligence got people killed. Here in Missouri, it just gets me mocked on social media. Whispering Pines covers 2,000 acres of Ozark forest with a 50-site campground that's packed every summer. Beautiful location, pristine lake, hiking trails that make you forget civilization exists. Also sits in what meteorologists call Tornado Alley's little brother. Not quite Kansas, but close enough to kill you if you're stupid about storms. When I took the job, I brought my military weather kit with me. Not the standard Park Service thermometer and rain gauge, but real instruments. Precision barometer that cost 3 months' salary. Anemometer array that measures wind shear. Lightning detection system with 50-mile range. Atmospheric pressure sensors linked to my phone. The works. Will, this isn't a combat zone, my supervisor Janet Hayes told me when she saw my setup. You're watching for thunderstorms, not calling in airstrikes. Weather doesn't care about the mission, ma'am, I replied. It just kills whoever isn't ready. She rolled her eyes but approved the equipment as ranger discretion. That discretion would save 50 lives, but first it would make me the most hated man in the campground. My routine starts at 400. Check 17 different weather models, NOAA, European, Japanese, military feeds I still have access to. Compare them, look for discrepancies. Models are good for general trends, but they miss microbursts, sudden formations, and the kind of localized violence that turns campgrounds into graveyards. By 500, I'm walking. The forest tells you things satellites miss. Humidity you can taste. Pressure changes that make your old shrapnel wounds ache. Bird behavior, insect patterns, the way leaves hang on branches. In Afghanistan, we called it ground truth. What's actually happening versus what computers think is happening. At 600, I brief my staff. They hate it. Morning weather paranoia from Ranger Will, my assistant Jake would announce. Today's apocalypse forecast is, they'd laugh. Post memes in our group chat about me being a doomsday prepper, made bingo cards of my weather warnings. But they also noticed I was right more often than the weather apps on their phones. The campers were worse. I'd post detailed weather briefings at the campground entrance, send alerts through our registration system, even walk site to site when conditions looked dangerous. The response was always the same, annoyance. We drove 6 hours to be here, they'd say. We're not leaving because of clouds. The weather app says 10% chance of rain. You're saying evacuate. Do you know how hard it is to get campsite reservations? We're staying. I became a joke. TripAdvisor reviews mentioned the paranoid ranger who ruins vacations. A YouTube video titled, Crazy Weather Willie Freaks Out Over Nothing, got 100,000 views. Someone started a drinking game. Take a shot every time Ranger Tours mentions barometric pressure. But here's what civilians don't understand. Weather apps show you averages and probabilities based on large areas. They don't show you the specific atmospheric violence forming over your exact location. They don't measure the unique conditions created by lake effect, elevation changes, and converging air masses that turn your peaceful campground into a tornado's birth canal. June 15th started beautiful. Clear skies, temperature in the mid-70s, perfect camping weather. Families were arriving for Father's Day weekend. Kids playing in the lake, dads setting up elaborate grills, moms arranging camping chairs around fire pits. The weather app showed partly cloudy with evening showers possible. My instruments showed something else entirely. At 400, barometric pressure had dropped 0.3 inches in 2 hours. Subtle but wrong. The drop was too sharp, too localized. My joints, full of metal from an IED in Kandahar, were screaming. The humidity was climbing despite clear skies. All signs of a massive low-pressure system forming faster than models predicted. I pulled up military weather feeds, used connections from my Air Force days. A colonel at Scott Air Force Base confirmed what I suspected: unusual upper atmospheric conditions, jet stream dipping south, cold air mass moving faster than predicted. Could be nothing, he said. Could be something big, models can't decide. By noon, I'd made my decision. The birds had gone silent. Leaves were showing their undersides. My barometer was falling like someone had punched a hole in the atmosphere. Every instinct from 2 decades of combat weather forecasting was screaming danger. I started at campsite 1 at 2 p.m. Good afternoon, folks. I need you to pack up and evacuate immediately. Severe weather coming in faster than predicted. The family, 2 parents, 3 kids, grandmother looked at the blue sky and laughed. Ranger Will, right? We heard about you. The weather's perfect. It won't be in 6 hours. Please trust me. Pack up now. The weather app says. The weather app is wrong. I've got 23 years of experience saying you need to leave. Now. They didn't move, just smiled and offered me a beer. I marked them on my clipboard as refused evacuation and moved to Site 2. 50 campsites. 50 variations of the same conversation. 50 families who thought I was crazy. The father at Site 23 was live-streaming my warnings. Paranoid park ranger loses it over clouds. Watch him melt down in real time. The comments were brutal. Laughing emojis. People calling for me to be fired. Suggestions I needed therapy for PTSD. By 3 p.m., I'd warned everyone. Not a single family had left. Jake found me at the weather station, studying readings that made my blood cold. Pressure dropping faster now. Wind shear at 10,000 feet. Temperature differentials that spelled supercell formation. Will, Janet's on the phone. She's getting complaints, lots of them. I took the call. Will, what the hell are you doing? I've got 50 families saying you're harassing them about evacuation. The weather's beautiful. Janet, we've got 6 hours, maybe less, before a major weather event, possibly tornadic. Based on what? NWS says mild evening showers. Based on experience, based on instruments, based on 23 years of keeping people alive by reading atmosphere. Will, I can't authorize an evacuation based on your joints hurting. Stand down, that's an order. I hung up and made a command decision. If I couldn't evacuate them officially, I'd make staying so unpleasant they'd leave on their own. First, I shut down the electrical hookups. Emergency maintenance, I told angry campers. Power will be off until tomorrow. Then the water. Contamination check, no water until further notice. The bathhouses, plumbing issues, porta-potties are being delivered. Eventually, the camp store. Register malfunction, cash only, but the ATM is broken. Families started packing, not because they believed in the danger, but because camping without amenities wasn't worth it. By 5 p.m., 30 of the 50 sites had cleared out, families heading to hotels, cursing my name. 20 families remained. The hardcore campers who didn't need electricity or running water. The ones filming my breakdown for social media. The ones who would die if I didn't do something drastic. At 6 p.m., the sky was still mostly clear, but I could see it. The tower building to the southwest, hidden by tree line but visible to trained eyes. Cumulonimbus climbing to 50,000 feet. The anvil top spreading. The green tinge that meant hail. The rotation beginning in the mesocyclone. I made one last round, Jake with me this time, both of us in full rain gear despite the seemingly pleasant evening. Mandatory evacuation, I shouted at each site. Tornado warning, leave now. There's no tornado warning, the man at Site 8 said, showing me his phone. You're lying. There will be, I'm telling you now. Leave or you'll die here. I'm calling the police, he said. You're terrorizing families. Let him call. By the time police arrived, they'd be busy with other things. 6:47 p.m. The temperature dropped 15 degrees in 3 minutes. The wind died completely, that eerie calm that precedes violence. Birds gone, insects silent. The leaves hung motionless, waiting. 6:52 p.m. The sky turned green-black. Lightning flickered inside clouds that weren't there 10 minutes ago. The first fat raindrops fell. 6:55 p.m. Phones started shrieking. Emergency alert, tornado warning, seek shelter immediately, 20 families scrambled. Screaming children, parents throwing belongings into cars, tents abandoned. But it was too late for driving, the storm was here. Everyone to the storm shelter, I roared over the rising wind. Leave everything. Move now. The campground's concrete storm shelter was built in the 1960s, designed for exactly this moment. I drilled my staff on emergency procedures every month, despite their eye-rolling. Now Jake and 2 other rangers formed a human chain, directing panicked families through horizontal rain towards safety. "My daughter!" a woman screamed. "She's at the playground!" I ran. Full sprint through wind that tried to throw me sideways, through rain like bullets, toward the playground where a 6-year-old girl stood frozen with terror. I scooped her up and ran back, my knees screaming, lungs burning. Made it to the shelter as the roar started. That sound, you never forget it, like a freight train made of pure violence. The tornado touched down at 7:03 p.m., exactly where I'd calculated, exactly when my instruments predicted. F3, winds over 160 mph. It hit the campground like God's own weed whacker. From inside the shelter, we heard destruction, trees exploding, cars flipping, the shower house disintegrating, children crying, parents praying. The man who'd threatened to call police was holding his family and looking at me with eyes that said everything. It lasted 8 minutes. 8 minutes of nature showing why you trust the paranoid ranger over the Pretty Weather app. When we emerged, Whispering Pines campground was gone. Where 50 families had been camping, only debris remained. RVs wrapped around trees. Tents found 2 miles away. Cars upside down, but every person walked out of that shelter. 50 campers, 6 staff, all alive. The aftermath was surreal. Emergency responders couldn't believe 0 fatalities. "That tornado hit dead center on a full campground," the fire chief said. "How is everyone alive?" "Ask Ranger Will," Jake said, still shaking. "He knew 6 hours before it formed." The families I'd terrorized into evacuating were the lucky ones. They watched the destruction from hotel rooms. The 20 who stayed survived only because I'd forced them into shelter at gunpoint of pure certainty. The live streamer who'd mocked my meltdown posted an update. "I'm alive because the ranger I called crazy forced me to safety. I'm sorry, he's not crazy. He's a hero." The investigation revealed what I already knew. A perfect storm of atmospheric conditions created a tornado that formed faster than any model predicted. The National Weather Service updated their protocols based on my instrument's data. My excessive weather station became the model for enhanced early warning systems. Janet apologized, then promoted me to regional weather coordinator. The Park Service wanted my methods implemented statewide. Train rangers to read ground truth, not just weather apps. Trust experience over algorithms. The families from June 15th stay in touch. Christmas cards with photos of kids who got to grow up because I trusted arthritis over satellites. The man who'd wanted me arrested sent a check for new weather equipment with a note. "For the next time your joints hurt." I still start at 400, still walk the grounds reading signs, still brief my staff on weather paranoia. But now they listen. Now they understand that the difference between partly cloudy and catastrophic is sometimes just a feeling in your bones and the courage to act on it. The YouTube video of my meltdown is still online, but the title has changed. "The Day Crazy Weather Willie Saved Our Lives." The comments are different now. People sharing stories of ignored warnings, of gut feelings dismissed, of experts mocked until expertise was all that stood between life and death. My weather station is bigger now. More instruments, better computers, a direct line to the National Weather Service, but the most important tool is still the same. The certainty that comes from experience, the willingness to be hated for being right, and the understanding that saving lives matters more than good reviews. Whispering Pines has been rebuilt. New campground, new facilities, and a prominent sign at the entrance. Weather warnings are mandatory evacuation orders. By order of Chief Ranger Tours. Some campers complain. Say I'm still too paranoid, too quick to evacuate. 1-star reviews accumulate. Ranger ruins camping with excessive weather alerts. I keep every one. Frame them next to the thank you letters from 50 families. Because one day, those 1-star reviewers will be writing thank you letters too. They just don't know it yet. The weather app on your phone is a guess. The pain in my rebuilt knee is ground truth. When they disagree, I'll evacuate a campground every time. I'll be the bad guy, the paranoid ranger, the camping trip ruiner. Because somewhere out there, another F3 is forming. Another perfect storm is building. Another beautiful day is lying about its intentions. And when it shows its true face, 50 more families will need someone willing to be hated at 2 p.m. to save them at 7 p.m. That's the job, not ranger, weather warrior, storm prophet, professional paranoid, whatever you want to call it. Just don't call me crazy when the tornado siren sounds and you're already in the shelter because I annoyed you into safety 6 hours early. Call me what I am, the guy who reads the sky's lies and tells the truth nobody wants to hear. Until they do. Until the roar starts. Until crazy becomes survival.